Hello and welcome back to English Unlimited Podcast, the place where we break down English for you, delivering those crucial nuggets of insight that accelerate your learning. I'm your host, Charlie.
And I'm Jamie. Good to be back. And ready to jump into the source material that our listeners sent us this week.
Today, we are undertaking a critical deep dive into what is arguably the single most frustrating barrier for almost every language learner. The dreaded intermediate plateau. You know exactly what I mean. You've done the work, you can read complex articles, you can follow movie plots, and your internal grammar knowledge is actually pretty solid. But the moment a native speaker asks you a spontaneous question,
You freeze.
you freeze. Everything just stops.
That moment of cognitive delay is, well, it's painful. We refer to this as the B1 fluency gap. It's the point where your passive knowledge, everything you recognize and understand when you hear it, far outpaces your active production.
Active production being what you can actually say.
What you can actually retrieve and use fluently in real time, yeah.
So we've taken the research you shared covering linguistics, neuroscience, and habit formation, and we are building a blueprint. Our mission today is to extract the proven short-duration strategies, specifically those that require only, 15 to 20 focused minutes a day?
Maximum. That's the key.
Maximum. And these are the strategies that actually automate speech and turn that dusty passive knowledge into confident active fluency.
We're going to show you exactly how to architect your day for maximum output with minimal time commitment. And later in this deep dive, we're going to use our concept dissection method on a major mental hurdle, analysis paralysis.
Ooh.
This is the phenomenon that keeps intermediate learners stuck in that cycle of overthinking.
I feel that. Plus, we'll answer that tricky question from our pop quiz teaser. What is the subtle but crucial difference between the phrasal verbs wake up and get up? It sounds so simple, but mastering that difference is, it's a huge step toward more nuanced, native-sounding descriptions of your daily life.
It communicates so much more than you realize. It really does.
Now, before we unlock this powerful routine, we have a quick but mandatory task for you. If you find value in these detailed deep dives, please subscribe to English Unlimited Podcast and hit that like button right now.
It really does help.
That tiny action truly helps us reach more learners who are struggling to push past that B1 wall.
Okay, let's get into it.
Okay, let's unpack this B1 challenge then. What exactly is the intermediate plateau, and why does this stage feel like quicksand?
So the core challenge at B1 is that you have functional competence.
Right.
You can survive a trip abroad, book a hotel, ask for directions. You can handle most general situations and describe past experiences. But you lack two things that are crucial for fluency: spontaneous flow and real-time articulation. You know what the rules are, but you can't apply them instantly under pressure.
So it's not that I don't know the future simple tense, it's that when someone asks about my plans for the weekend, I just can't. I can't deploy it fast enough.
Precisely. Let's use the analogy you shared in the sources because it's perfect. The B1 stage is like driving a car where you have to check the instruction manual for every single gear shift.
Oh, that's a good idea.
You understand the rule. You know that if you want to accelerate, you need to shift up. But the action of shifting, which is the act of speaking, isn't automatic yet. You have to consciously pause and think, okay, what specific rule applies here? Which tense do I need?
I instantly recognize that cognitive delay.
Yeah.
It completely kills the flow of conversation, and the native speaker is already 3 sentences ahead of me by the time I figure out the past perfect.
Exactly. That conscious thinking is a massive cognitive tax, and it stops the car dead. Your brain is expending all its energy on translation and retrieval, and it leaves none for fluid conversation.
Wow.
The ultimate goal of B1 is turning that conscious knowledge into automatic, subconscious muscle memory.
So when we put this in comparison to other levels, like how big is that B1 to B2 jump, really?
Yeah. Oh, it's huge. It's a massive jump. Contrast B1 with A2. An A2 learner has basic survival language. Where is the toilet? I want coffee.
The basics.
The absolute basics. B1 is functionally competent. They can express hopes, describe complex experiences, and manage social situations. But B2 requires a massive leap, fluent, nuanced communication.
Nuanced. That's the word.
B2 means you can debate, you can understand most idioms, and you rarely pause to search for words. B1 is stuck right in the middle, where the gap between your passive recognition and your active production is at its widest.
And you mentioned this, like the involuntary 3-step process that causes the hesitation in a real-world scenario. Can we walk through that again? Because I think it's so important for listeners to recognize this happening in their own brains.
Of course. Imagine you're at a small gathering and someone asks you about a recent trip. Instead of answering in English immediately, your brain, just out of habit, involuntarily executes this energy-draining cycle.
Okay.
First, decode and translate. The English question gets translated into your native language. Second, construct. You mentally construct the perfect, polished answer in your native language with all the sophisticated structures you know.
The perfect sentence.
The perfect one. And then third, retranslate and deploy. You translate that perfect sentence back into English, and this is where the system just stalls.
This is where the car stops.
This is where the car stops. You get stuck on a specific preposition, or you realize you don't actually know the active verb for that complex idea.
That delay is exhausting. It's the reason we feel so drained after just a 10-minute conversation. The goal then is to eliminate step 1 and step 2 entirely.
Precisely. The 20-minute power routine we're discussing today is designed to build a direct neural link between the thought or the concept and the English verbal expression, automating the flow and bypassing that internal translator.
Okay, so if the problem is this deep-seated habit-based cognitive delay, why are the experts so insistent on a short solution? 20 minutes sounds, I don't know, like a marketing gimmick. If the B1 plateau is so deep, shouldn't we be studying for like 4 or 5 hours straight on a Saturday?
That's a fantastic, critical question, and so many learners fall for that trap of the marathon session.
Right.
But the core idea here is the consistency mandate. Experts advise that regular practice, even just 15 to 20 minutes daily, is vastly superior to those occasional marathon sessions. 4 hours once a month simply cannot compete with 20 minutes every single day.
But why are those short bursts fundamentally better? My brain feels like it needs a long cramming session to absorb complex grammar rules.
So the answer lies in cognitive fatigue and memory consolidation. Learning, especially tasks that require high cognitive effort like spontaneous output drills, requires maximum focused energy dedication. When you try to sustain high effort focus for 2 or 3 hours, your effort inevitably dips dramatically. You hit a wall, and those last 2 hours are often spent on unproductive, passive activities or just daydreaming.
So I'm getting diminishing returns after that first concentrated hour.
Exactly. Short, high-intensity periods are fundamentally more efficient because they minimize that mental fatigue. You maximize the intensity applied within that chosen duration. Think about the difference between a high-intensity interval training, a HIIT workout, and a slow 3-hour jog.
Right.
Both are exercise, but one maximizes results in a short, intense window.
So I actually get more quality work done in 20 focused minutes than in the middle 2 hours of a 3-hour cram session. That's so counterintuitive, but it makes total sense from a biological perspective.
It's about leveraging the brain's peak focus window. Stephanie Marston, an authority on language acquisition and habits, emphasizes this beautifully. She says, and I'm quoting from the source material, "A 20-minute daily routine might seem small, but its impact can be huge. You'll gradually see improvement in your English skills, and you'll be more confident using the language. You are building neural pathways, and those pathways strengthen with daily repetition, not massive intermittent shocks."
The focused intensity and daily repetition, that sounds like the secret to achieving fluency automation.
It is the absolute key. Now, let's do a deep dive on the word that underpins this entire strategy: consistency.
Okay, let's spotlight this first. Learners often mix up consistency with perfection. Why is that distinction so crucial for someone at B1?
Because aiming for perfection often leads to paralysis. It just does. If you wait until you have a flawless 2 hours to study, you will never start.
Guilty.
Right. Consistency, on the other hand, requires only showing up.
So perfection suggests ideal results, 0 mistakes, flawlessness. But consistency just means showing up, even if you're tired or you're making mistakes.
You nailed it. Consistency is the priority here, not perfection. You can be consistently making mistakes, and that's absolutely fine because you are consistently showing up, which is what builds the long-term habit and the muscle memory. The brain just loves predictable input.
Okay, define it for us simply then. What is consistency?
Consistency means doing something regularly, reliably, and uniformly again and again, especially over a long period. It's the regularity of the effort that matters far more than the size of the effort.
Let's cement this idea with 5 distinct scenarios covering different contexts.
We can do that. First one, formal. The board demanded consistent investment in research and development and a consistent rate of returns to maintain market leadership, regardless of quarterly fluctuations.
Okay, very businesslike.
Very. Number 2, casual. My partner is really consistent about going to the gym, even when they feel exhausted or the weather is bad. It's a core part of their identity now.
I can relate to that. What about a funny one?
Number 3, funny weird. My neighbor is consistently late for the neighborhood meetings, but exactly 17 minutes every single time. It's so reliable, it's become their most annoying yet strangely consistent habit.
That's hilarious.
Number 4, historical. The success of the Roman legions wasn't simply due to brute force. It was their consistent discipline, their methodical organization, and their unchanging, predictable training methods.
Makes sense.
And finally, number 5, philosophical. We have to turn to Aristotle for the most relevant perspective. Excellence, therefore, is not an act, but a habit. Excellence or fluency is the natural result of consistent practice, not a single perfect burst of action.
I love that philosophical connection. It turns a study habit into like a way of life. Okay, let's demonstrate this in a longer, more natural role play. I'll be the coach, and you can be the friend who tries too hard and burns out quickly.
Perfect. I am the friend struggling to maintain any routine at all.
Hey, I saw you missed English class again this week, and you sound pretty frustrated when we talk. What happened to the 5 hours you planned for Sunday?
I burned out. I tried to do massive grammar practice for 6 hours, and now the sight of the textbook just makes me feel sick. I haven't touched it since Monday.
That's the classic trap. You're chasing perfection instead of prioritizing consistency. Forget the 6 hours. That's just overwhelming. Can you commit to just 18 minutes of active shadowing right after you finish your morning coffee before you check any emails?
18 minutes. That feels so small, it almost feels pointless. Will that tiny block of time actually help me bridge the B1 gap?
It's small, yes, but it's consistent. The critical element is linking it to a fixed, non-negotiable anchor point finishing your coffee. It doesn't matter if those 18 minutes feel awkward or if you make 5 grammar mistakes. It only matters that you are consistent about it every single day. That steady rhythm is what trains your brain to expect and then produce English.
Linking it to a fixed point in the morning. I suppose I can see how that might work. I guess I need to prioritize showing up every day over ensuring I never make a mistake.
Exactly. Consistency is the foundational structure that builds the fluency muscle.
That was a powerful demonstration of how to apply this idea. Now let's quickly review the essential collocations and nuances, because this word appears everywhere. We commonly hear consistent effort, meaning sustained hard work. Consistent progress, meaning steady, predictable improvement, not rapid, erratic jumps. And consistent pattern, which refers to predictability in behavior or results.
Right.
The key nuance is that consistent is almost always a highly positive attribute. It implies reliability and dedication.
Okay, building on consistency, let's clarify the distinction between active and passive learning. This is critical for B1 learners who often believe watching English Netflix all day counts as studying.
Oh, this is where time management so often goes wrong. Passive learning like immersion, listening to music, or watching TV without subtitles where you only catch the main idea, it's essential for input. You absolutely need massive exposure.
Wow.
But passive learning alone will leave your production skills weak.
So passive learning fills the language cup, but active learning teaches you the physical skill of drinking from it.
That's a fantastic, simple analogy. Our standard one is passive learning is watching a master chef cook a perfect meal. You see all the ingredients, the techniques, the steps. Active learning is physically getting into the kitchen, grabbing the tools, measuring the ingredients, and cooking the meal yourself.
You've got to do it.
You have to practice the motions and use the tools under pressure.
So what are the specific active learning examples that have to occupy those 20 minutes?
The sources strongly emphasize output-focused drills. These are the things that force production and retrieval. Daily dictation, speaking aloud, the daily monologue, and especially shadowing. And we will dissect these drills in detail in Phase 3.
Got it.
These techniques force the brain to actively retrieve and produce language, successfully converting passive recognition memory into usable speech memory.
We mentioned the importance of eliminating excuses. It's so easy to push the 20 minutes back until later. What are the specific psychological excuses we need to kill?
Well, the excuses are simply psychological barriers driven by comfort and resistance to effort. The common ones are, I'll probably have more energy to focus on this after dinner when I'm relaxed. Or the classic, I'll set aside a huge block of time on the weekend to catch up on this week's missed lessons.
Right. And the reality is that by evening, our decision-making fatigue is so high, and the chance of starting a cognitively demanding task just drops to zero.
Precisely. That's why procrastination is a choice, often fueled by feeling overwhelmed by the sheer size of the task. By committing to tackle language learning early in the morning or whatever your personal peak cognitive hour is, you preemptively eliminate those excuses.
Hmm.
You tick the box before the day can sabotage you, ensuring the active work gets done.
So scheduling the time is less about the language mechanics and more about winning the mental battle against delay and distraction.
That's the entire strategy. The 20-minute routine is a tactical maneuver to ensure you invest time in active learning instead of passively scrolling through unproductive social media feeds or clicking on distracting news articles, which the sources highlight as a massive drain on the limited time B1 learners have available. So, moving into phase 2, we have to discuss when this critical 20 minutes should happen, and the core principle is this. Allocate study time during your most productive, high-energy hours.
Okay.
This aligns high cognitive effort tasks like grammar or speaking with your peak mental performance.
I always hear the advice to study late at night when the house is quiet, but that feels like it contradicts your advice about peak hours. Doesn't quiet time trump energy level?
For most people, quiet time at 11 p.m. coincides with a massive drop in cognitive functions. For many, peak productivity occurs in the morning shortly after waking up, when cognitive load is low and the brain is refreshed. Your working memory is just primed to absorb and retain information better then. Now, if you are a night owl, fine. Schedule your intense practice at 10 p.m. But the critical action is aligning high-focus, active tasks with your maximum focused energy, regardless of what the clock says.
So we have to be strategic about our unique personal energy patterns, not just follow some generalized advice.
Exactly. You have to be self-aware. Let's dissect the concepts around this timing now.
Let's spotlight the difference. Early bird, night owl, and morning person. Are these basically interchangeable synonyms?
Not exactly. They describe your chronotype, which is your body's natural tendency to sleep at a certain time. A morning person is a very casual, general term for someone who is cheerful and functional in the morning.
Okay.
Early bird and night owl are more specific descriptors of when your body naturally experiences its highest peak of energy and alertness.
Give us the simple definitions.
An early bird is a person who naturally wakes up early, is active, productive, and energetic in the morning hours, usually doing their most intense work before noon. A night owl is a person who naturally stays up late, is most active, energetic, and productive late at night or in the evening, and often struggles to function before mid-morning.
Time to cement that difference with 5 distinct examples.
Okay. 1. Formal. The CEO, a notorious early bird, arrived before 6 a.m. every morning, which established the demanding start-of-day early bird schedule for the entire corporate department.
Right.
2. Casual. I'm definitely more of a night owl. I know my best writing habits and my peak focus time don't even start until around 10 p.m., long after my early bird colleagues have gone to sleep.
That's me. Number 3, a funny one.
Funny weird. They say the early bird catches the worm, but the night owl avoids the worm altogether because it's still too tired to move and avoids being eaten by the hawk, who is also an early bird.
Huh. I like that.
Number 4, historical. Benjamin Franklin, famous for his rigorous schedules and maxims like early to bed and early to rise, perfectly embodied the disciplined early bird philosophy, valuing morning productivity above all else.
Of course he did.
And 5, philosophical. Aligning your intense study time with your natural energy pattern, whether you identify as an early bird or a night owl, is the first and most critical act of self-knowledge required for maximizing peak cognitive performance.
That philosophical point is so powerful. I definitely feel like a night owl who is trying to force myself to live in an early bird world because I feel guilty about sleeping later. Let's do an extended scenario role play about setting the tone, which is a mandatory idiom we need to dissect.
Okay. I will be the struggling night owl friend trying to change my chronotype by force.
I know you're a natural night owl, but you sound exhausted. I saw this motivational video that said all successful people are early birds, so I set my alarm for 5 a.m. to start my English monologue.
Yeah.
It was brutal. I hit snooze 4 times and just felt angry all morning.
Ugh, that sounds absolutely counterproductive. You can't just change your chronotype overnight based on some video. The goal should be to find a way to set the tone for your day, not shock your nervous system.
What does that phrase, set the tone, really mean in a practical sense?
It means those very first actions and decisions you make decide the feeling, the mood, or the general pattern of your entire day. It's like choosing the first few songs on a massive playlist. If the first song is stressful, the whole day just feels rushed.
Well,
If you start your morning with a calm, intentional, and successful 20 minutes of English practice, you set the tone for focus, competence, and progress, regardless of what the clock says.
So for a night owl like me, instead of forcing myself awake at 5 a.m., maybe I set the tone by choosing to engage with my 20-minute active learning slot immediately after dinner, instead of falling into unproductive actions like scrolling. I need to eliminate that just 1 minute of social media problem.
Exactly. That is intentionality. You are choosing English over the instant passive gratification of scrolling. You are resisting the urge to waste time, which the sources repeatedly highlight as a massive pitfall for B1 learners. That strategic choice, regardless of whether you are an early bird or a night owl, is what successfully sets the tone.
Perfect. Now, the collocations and nuances for these chronotypes.
We use the phrase early bird special constantly, referring to a cheaper price or special advantage offered earlier in the day or evening.
Oh yeah, like at restaurants.
Exactly. We talk about a night owl schedule, meaning a routine that naturally involves late hours and late starts. The key nuance is recognizing your natural energy pattern. For high-effort language tasks, you should always work with that pattern, not against it, to maximize efficiency and avoid burnout. Now that we know when to study, let's talk about the foundational input activity, reading. The research is unanimous on this. Reading is fundamental for language acquisition because it provides powerful, context-rich input, which enriches vocabulary and builds an intuitive sense of grammar.
I understand it's important, but why is reading often cited as more powerful than, say, just doing fill-in-the-blank grammar drills?
So, according to applied linguistics principles, we acquire language primarily through comprehensible input. When you read something you genuinely enjoy, you effortlessly learn how complex sentences are constructed, how ideas flow, and what collocations sound natural. You are absorbing language subconsciously, often bypassing the need for explicit memorization of rules, which is the problem area for the B1 learner.
Okay, but my fear is that reading becomes another source of analysis paralysis. Should I stop and look up every single word I don't know?
Absolutely not, no.
Yeah.
That kills the joy in the fluency building. The essential reading strategy is reading for pleasure and overall comprehension. The specific rule is only look up words that repeat frequently and seem absolutely vital to understanding the main plot.
Okay.
You should aim to understand at least 50% to 70% of the text comfortably. If you stop every minute to translate, you shatter the flow, and you fail to train your brain to infer meaning from context.
So if I can guess the meaning of a word from the surrounding context, I should just keep going.
Keep going. That skill of inference is actually a hallmark of fluency. If you read consistently, your subconscious brain will eventually figure out the word through repeated exposure in different contexts.
You had some specific recommendations for level-appropriate books. These are called graded readers, right?
They are. These are books adapted to specific proficiency levels. For listeners currently struggling to move from A2 to B1, the book Meet Me in Istanbul is highly recommended.
Okay.
It's an engaging, lighthearted detective story, which is perfect for picking up useful travel and everyday vocabulary without feeling intimidated by overly complex prose.
And for someone ready to push toward B2, what's the next step?
The suggestion is to move to the B2 adaptation of Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier. It has a high-stakes, dramatic plot, which will absorb your attention, making the learning task easier to handle because you simply want to know what happens next. Vetting your resources, ensuring they match your level and interest, is key to sustaining this habit.
And what's the actionable tip related to reading that feeds directly into our speaking goal?
It's non-negotiable. Practice reading out loud for at least 5 minutes daily. This simple action helps build physical fluency. It trains your mouth's muscles and physically connects the visual word on the page to the physical sound you produce, which is a massive help for improving your pronunciation and prosody.
Okay, let's integrate all this into the structured 20-minute power cycle, which is divided into 3 distinct phases.
Phase 1. Input priming. This takes minutes 0 to 5.
And this is low-effort immersion.
Exactly. It's when your mind is still multitasking. While you are engaged in a simple, habitual activity preparing tea, commuting on autopilot, or organizing your desk, you are passively listening to easy English content.
Okay.
This could be a B1 level podcast focusing on routines or small talk. The goal is to gently transition your cognitive processing into English, initiating that crucial habit of thinking in English before the real work begins.
So I'm listening while my brain is still on autopilot, just easing into the language. Then, after 5 minutes, we transition to phase 2, active comprehension with transcripts.
That's minutes 5 to 15. This is the moment you stop the passive activity and engage fully. You focus intently on a short audio clip, perhaps a 1-minute segment, ideally using a downloadable transcript.
Why is working with transcripts so fundamentally powerful here?
The transcript advantage is immense, particularly for B1 learners who struggle to differentiate word boundaries in real speech. Transcripts act as a bridge. They clarify how spoken English deviates wildly from written English. They help you link the specific sound you hear, which might be fast and blurred, to the precise written lexical item, strengthening comprehension and retention dramatically.
I always get lost when native speakers talk fast because the words seem to blur together. I feel like I hear one long, continuous sound.
That blurring is connected speech, which we'll dissect next. Transcripts eliminate the frustration of constantly rewinding. They show you exactly where the speaker is merging or reducing sounds. This dramatically improves your pronunciation because you see the written form of the word you just heard, which is essential for self-correction and understanding natural rhythm.
And what should I be actively extracting during this phase 2?
The goal is intentional input. You are not just absorbing, you are hunting. You must capture 3 to 5 high-utility linguistic units, not single words, but functional collocations like catch the bus, check emails, or run an errand.
Got it.
You note exactly how these chunks are used in context. This ensures you learn vocabulary as functional, usable units, ready for active production later.
So phase 3 is where we shift gears entirely. This is the crucial last 5 minutes, where we move from input analysis to high-intensity output, designed specifically to break the intermediate plateau. Let's start with the ultimate fluency workout, shadowing.
Shadowing is the core technique for fluency automation. It's the closest thing we have to a guaranteed method for building physical speech dexterity. You listen to an audio track and you repeat it exactly, trailing the speaker by just 1 or 2 seconds, acting as their physical echo.
When I try this, I honestly feel like I'm wasting my time and making silly noises. It feels so awkward, like I'm just parroting sounds without even understanding. How do I get past that mental hurdle of sounding ridiculous?
That mental resistance is a sign you are successfully challenging your internal system. That awkwardness means you are effectively bypassing the internal translator. You are forcing the raw flow of speech rather than waiting for your brain to approve the perfect grammar. The entire point is to train your articulatory motor planning.
Articulatory motor planning, what does that even involve?
Think of it like a pianist learning a new piece. The B1 learner knows the notes, which are the grammar rules, but their fingers, their mouth muscles, are slow and clumsy. Shadowing forces your mouth, your tongue, your throat muscles to perform the complex, rapid movements required for English prosody, the stress, rhythm, and intonation, without the delay of conscious grammatical thought.
Wow.
The crucial rule in shadowing is absolute. Don't stop. Prioritize continuous flow over perfection or comprehension.
So if I stumble on a word, I shouldn't rewind and fix it. I should just jump back in immediately.
Absolutely. Stopping breaks the rhythm, and rhythm is the main benefit here. You are training the body, not the analytic mind, in this moment. We check the mistakes later. For advanced learners, you can try blind shadowing, no transcript, just pure auditory focus, or interpretive shadowing, where you imitate the speaker's emotion, gestures, and body language to fully become the actor.
That deepens the connection between the language and my physical action, making it more memorable. Now let's dissect that concept that transcripts are so useful for combating, connected speech.
Right. Connected speech is the reason B1 learners struggle to understand fast, real-life conversation. We absolutely have to use the concept dissection protocol here.
Okay, let's start with a simple analogy.
Think of connected speech as a train traveling at full speed. When it moves fast, the gaps between the individual words, the train carriages, they just disappear. The separate sounds blur together to create a smooth, continuous sound, making it extremely difficult to decode if you expect every single word to be perfectly distinct, like it is in written form.
That perfectly explains why I am going to, sounds like I'm going, and I never hear the team.
Precisely. In comparison, contrast textbook pronunciation versus real-life reduction. A textbook might say, "Did you go to the store?" with clear pauses. Real life involves blending, reduction, and elision, these phonological processes that result in something that sounds like, "Did you go to the store?"
Whoa.
If you only study the textbook version, your ears just aren't prepared for the real-life version.
So the textbook gives us the single carriage, but real life shows us the moving train where all the boundaries are invisible.
Exactly. Now, let's set up a scenario that illustrates how connected speech becomes challenging without transcript aid. Imagine you're on a phone call, and the person on the other end says quickly, "I didn't catch that."
If my brain tries to listen for 4 separate distinct words, "I did not catch," that I might miss it entirely. Because the final T in didn't is often dropped, right? And catch, that is often linked. It sounds like one unit.
The speed and the merging of the boundaries, I didn't catch that. It makes it sound like noise to an untrained B1 ear. If you rely only on your auditory input, your brain struggles to match that sound to the known lexical items.
But with a transcript.
But with the transcript, you see the actual words, I didn't catch that, and you can instantly link that blurred sound back to the correct spelling, strengthening your ability to recognize and use it later.
That fundamentally clarifies why transcripts are so essential for bridging the B1 gap.
The second high-intensity drill is dictation, which should occupy another 5 to 10 minutes of your total practice time.
What's the core function of daily dictation beyond just writing things down?
Its core function is a three-pronged attack on your learning. First, it sharpens listening and attention to detail. You are forced to notice small functional words like articles, the, a, and prepositions in, on, that passive listening often misses.
Okay.
Second, as you write, it strengthens your spelling and grammar intuition. You start seeing structures and punctuation naturally.
And the third function?
The third is rhythmic training. By checking against the transcript and listening again, you improve your ability to internalize the speaker's stress and rhythm, which is vital for speaking naturally.
You mentioned there are two main types of dictation. Which one should the B1 learner focus on?
They should focus on sentence dictation, not paragraph transcription. Sentence dictation involves listening to one or two short sentences, pausing, and writing. This is ideal because the focus is on structure, precision, and short-term memory retrieval. Paragraph transcription is too long and quickly leads to fatigue and transcription errors, which can be really discouraging. Focus on short, intense bursts of perfection on a single sentence.
Okay, walk us through the precise, practical process for that 5-minute dictation drill.
Start with a short clip. Step 1. Listen to the clip once or twice and write down only the words you are certain about, leaving blanks for the others.
Right.
Step 2. Listen again, focusing on the rhythm and the blurred words, the connected speech, fill in the blanks. Step 3, which is crucial, check your written work against the transcript and correct every single mistake.
Everyone.
And step 4, listen one final time while reading the correct transcript, actively focusing on the speaker's rhythm and pace.
That repetition loop ensures that what I hear, what I write, and what I see are integrated, building those neural pathways.
Exactly. And remember, this practice is highly transferable. Dictation practice is directly similar to listening and repeating tasks found in standardized exams like the TOEFL, where you have to process and quickly articulate sentences under time pressure. Mastering this drill prepares you for those real-world, high-stakes situations.
The final, most critical element of the 20-minute power cycle is the daily monologue, taking the last 5 minutes. This is spontaneous, spoken output, ideally recorded on your phone. This sounds like the scary part for the B1 learner who struggles with flow.
It is scary, but it's the most valuable. This acts as your personal production gap analysis. You are forcing yourself to convert input, like the collocations you just captured in Phase 2, into immediate, spontaneous output.
Right.
The moment you struggle to articulate a passive word or misuse a tense, you know precisely where your gap is.
So the struggle is the data point. It reveals exactly what I need to target tomorrow.
Precisely. That difficulty immediately identifies the specific passive words, structures, and phrases you know but struggle to use actively. It gives you a targeted syllabus for your next day's input phase.
What are 3 distinct, actionable monologue topics I can use? Because B1 learners, including me, often run out of ideas really quickly.
Great question. Number 1, review the input. Spend 5 minutes reviewing the content you just listened to in Phase 2. What were the 3 main points of the podcast you listened to? Which new phrases did you capture?
Okay, easy enough.
2, describe your day plans. Use sequence connectors like first, then after that, and practice talking about your specific plans for the day or week. First, I need to call the bank. Then I plan to drag myself to the gym.
Got it.
And 3, hypothetical B1 prompts. Use a generic topic like describe your ideal job, what is your favorite travel memory, or discuss the best way to save time in the morning. This forces you to handle abstract or descriptive language.
That ensures I'm constantly converting input to output. It also functions as a pre-tutor rehearsal.
It absolutely does. If you practice articulating your ideas daily, you maximize the value of any live conversation with a tutor or exchange partner later in the week because you've already rehearsed the core vocabulary and ideas. You're no longer searching for basic words. You're engaging in higher-level interaction.
Since daily routines are such a common B1 topic, let's upgrade our ability to talk about mornings by dissecting two fantastic, expressive phrasal verbs.
Let's spotlight this. Charlie, how is this different from the simple, neutral get up?
Okay, get up is just a statement of fact. I got up. Drag yourself out of bed. Sounds heavy, full of negative emotion, like I really did not want to move.
You've captured the tone perfectly. Get up is neutral. This phrase is loaded with reluctance.
What's the simple, plain English definition?
It means leaving the bed with great difficulty, extreme reluctance, or significant effort, usually because you are exhausted, didn't sleep well, or you just dread the day ahead.
Let's cement this idea with 5 distinct scenarios, showcasing the emotional depth.
Okay. 1. Formal. Despite feeling unwell, the politician knew she had to drag herself out of bed to deliver the crucial early morning press statement. 2. Casual. On a rainy Monday morning after a busy weekend, I seriously had to drag myself out of bed. It was a battle between me and the duvet.
I feel that.
3. Funny weird. I set 6 alarms, 3 different sounds, and still I had to physically drag myself out of bed. I swear my pillow has super glue on it.
Number 4.
Historical. The factory workers during the early Industrial Revolution often had to drag themselves out of bed before dawn, knowing the long, brutal working day awaited them.
Rib.
And 5. Philosophical. Think of it this way. Dragging yourself out of bed when you are struggling is, ironically, the first small act of genuine courage and commitment you perform each day.
That really drives home the emotional weight. Now, let's role-play the difference between a leisurely morning and a chaotic one, making sure we use this verb naturally.
I'll start by asking about your start to the week. How was your Monday morning, Charlie? Did you manage a relaxed start this week?
Relaxed? Absolutely not. It was a mad rush. The alarm went off 15 minutes late, and I had to literally drag myself out of bed. I didn't even have time to make proper coffee.
Oh, that sounds completely awful. A truly hectic start. On days like that, I sometimes don't even manage to drag myself out of bed until I hear the radio news headlines. It's my only motivator to face the day.
I wish I had that luxury. I swear, I need to install a special mechanism just to physically help me drag myself out of bed faster when I'm running behind.
That phrase instantly tells the listener your emotional state for the day.
And the key collocations and nuances for drag yourself out of bed.
We often use this with movement, such as drag yourself to work, meaning reluctantly going to the office, or drag yourself through the week, implying constant physical exhaustion until Friday. The nuance is that it conveys emotional difficulty beyond simple tiredness. It implies resistance. Okay, our second key verb is freshen up. Charlie, let's spotlight the difference. How is it different from take a shower?
A shower implies a full wash, soap, washing your hair maybe 10 or 15 minutes. Freshen up sounds quick, minimal, and just focused on feeling presentable.
Correct. Freshen up means performing quick, superficial actions to feel clean, presentable, and revitalized. Washing your face, combing your hair, fixing your clothes, maybe a quick change of shirt, but it specifically stops short of a full shower or bath.
The 5 distinct examples, please.
1. Formal. Before the contract signing, the lawyer requested 5 minutes to step into the private lounge and quickly freshen up after the long train journey. 2. Casual. Can we meet at the cafe in 10 minutes? I need to quickly freshen up after running around doing errands all afternoon. I feel a bit sticky.
Yeah.
3. Funny weird. My cat spends 5 minutes meticulously cleaning its ears and fur, which I suppose is its version of freshening up.
Totally. 4.
Historical. Travelers in the 19th century would deliberately stop at coaching inns specifically to grab a basin of water and freshen up before continuing their dusty, uncomfortable journeys.
It makes sense.
And 5. Philosophical. Sometimes, taking a quick moment to freshen up is a small but powerful mental pause, allowing you to reset your physical state before re-engaging with a difficult or demanding social situation.
That sounds like a wonderful mental reset. Let's role-play the morning sequence using this verb and ensuring we use sequence connectors like first, then after that, once that's done.
I'll describe my standard sequence. First, I manage to drag myself out of bed around 6:45 a.m. Then I go straight to the kitchen to start the coffee machine.
And once the coffee is brewing.
After that, I head into the bathroom to freshen up a quick face wash and brushing my teeth. Once that's done, I sit down with my coffee for my structured 20 minutes of English study before I get fully showered and dressed for the day.
That is a beautifully structured description that uses the connectors and the high-utility phrases perfectly.
And finally, the collocations and nuances for freshen up. A quick freshen up is the most common collocation, implying speed and necessity. You can also use it metaphorically or non-physically, such as freshen up the room by opening a window to let in air, or freshen up the data in a report. The nuance is always about quick revitalization or becoming immediately presentable. So all this morning routine, all the high-intensity drills are designed to prepare you for the highest stakes scenario. Real spontaneous conversation.
Mm-hmm.
The sources stress a fundamental truth. Conversation is absolutely a skill, not just an innate talent. It can be practiced, developed, and improved methodically.
But when I talk to native speakers, I feel like my awkwardness isn't just about my grammar. My tone and my body language feel completely off.
You're keenly aware of the truth. You literally nailed the most famous statistic in communication research proposed by Dr. Albert Mehrabian. In face-to-face communication, words account for only 7% of meaning.
7%.
7. Tone accounts for 38%, and body language is a massive 55%. You are having a silent conversation that speaks louder than your words.
Wow. If the silent conversation is so dominant, what are the key physical elements we need to master for confidence, especially when we're feeling nervous?
There are 5 specifics to practice. First, the natural relaxed smile. Adopt a natural relaxed smile when approaching someone, greeting them, or listening intently. It makes you immediately approachable and communicates positive intent.
Okay.
Second, regular eye contact. Maintain regular eye contact, but consciously avoid staring. This signals interest, confidence, and engagement.
Right. Don't be creepy.
Exactly. Third, open posture. Always use an open posture, shoulders relaxed, arms uncrossed. Crossing your arms is a protective barrier that signals defensiveness or disagreement.
Mm-hmm.
Fourth, personal space. Always respect personal space, maintaining roughly an arm's length distance.
Got it. And 5.
And fifth, mirroring. Subtly mirror the body language of the person you are talking to. If they lean in, you lean in slightly. This subconsciously builds rapport.
So even if my vocabulary acquisition is still a work in progress, my open posture and natural smile communicate that I am friendly and interested, which overcomes minor linguistic errors.
Exactly. It communicates a positive, confident attitude, which is the key to engaging successfully. To keep the conversation going, we call this the rally, you must use follow-up questions constantly. Who, what, where, why, when, how. Listen intently to what they say and immediately ask a question about that topic.
Just force the ball back into their court.
You got it.
I sometimes panic because I don't know what to say, so I just nod silently.
What about those tiny reactive noises, the back-channel signals?
Those are crucial back-channel signals, and they take up a big chunk of that 38% tone measurement. Practice short, engaging phrases like, really? Oh, wow, that's intense. That sounds exciting, or I didn't know that. Interesting. These are not just fillers. They are active signals that show the speaker you are engaged and listening.
Right. It keeps the energy flowing.
It does, and it invites them to continue without requiring complex sentence construction from you. And finally, the moment everyone dreads. How do we end a conversation politely and naturally?
Use soft exits. These are polite but natural ways to close the discussion without being abrupt or rude. Memorize and deploy phrases like, anyway, it's been lovely chatting with you, but I should let you get on with your day, or it's getting late, I should let you go, or maybe see you around next week. They keep the atmosphere friendly and leave the door open for future interaction. Now we tackle the mental trap that sabotages confidence and drains our focus. Overthinking, often manifesting as rumination or analysis paralysis. The danger is that this relentless mental loop consumes all your limited cognitive energy and severely interferes with focus and sleep.
Can you explain the difference between rumination dwelling on past mistakes and analysis paralysis?
Rumination is focused on the past. It's dwelling on a mistake you made last week, replaying the scenario repeatedly with a negative bias. Analysis paralysis is focused on the future and decision-making. It's when the sheer volume of choices, possibilities, and potential flaws stops you from acting.
Okay, let's break down analysis paralysis using the concept dissection protocol.
Analogy first. How does analysis paralysis feel in the moment?
To me, it feels like my brain is a computer that short circuits because I have way too many browser tabs open at the same time. Every tab represents a potential outcome, a specific grammar rule, or a conflicting piece of vocabulary I might need. The system tries to process every possibility, aiming for perfect certainty until the brain just overheats and freezes.
That's it, exactly. The sheer volume of analysis prevents all action. In comparison, contrast analysis paralysis with simple indecision. Indecision might mean choosing between two equally attractive options. Analysis paralysis means actively trying to weigh every possible outcome for a small, low-stakes decision like which sequence connector to use in your daily monologue, until the mental cost exceeds the benefit and you remain stuck doing nothing at all.
Give us a specific extended scenario where a B1 learner falls into this trap related to their studies.
Imagine you need to submit a simple two-sentence text message to your language exchange partner arranging a meeting time. Instead of just quickly writing, "How about Friday at 4?" the learner starts to analyze. Should I use "how about" or "what about"? Is 4 too informal? Should I write 4 p.m.? What if they think I'm being too brief? What if I use the wrong preposition when discussing the location?
Oh, no.
They spend 30 minutes weighing these dozen tiny outcomes, trying to seek 100% certainty and flawlessness until they are mentally exhausted and either miss the window to respond or spend so much energy they have none left for their real 20-minute drill.
That perfectly illustrates how it drains the limited cognitive energy we need for active speaking.
Yeah.
So how do we fight this internal loop?
We use practical physical tools to interrupt the analysis loop. The first is the 5-second rule popularized by Mel Robbins. When you feel the intuitive push to speak, to start a task, or send an email, count 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then physically move.
The 5-second rule makes sense for physical action, like getting out of bed. But how does counting down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 help when the anxiety of making a mistake is purely internal?
That's a key distinction.
Yeah.
The counting doesn't solve the problem, it interrupts the mental pattern. The physical act of counting is a cognitive interrupt. It creates a tiny, critical window of action, silencing the doubt and anxiety that flood in fast and loud. The numbers give your brain a simple, external task to focus on, immediately redirecting attention away from the paralyzing worry and back toward the task at hand. It forces forward momentum.
Fascinating. It's a mechanism to hijack the attention. What's the second tool for an emergency mental reset?
That's the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 sensory grounding technique. This is for when the anxiety or overthinking spiral is intense. You immediately pull yourself back into physical reality by engaging your senses. Name 5 things you can see around you, 4 things you can touch or feel the sensation of, like the texture of your shirt, 3 things you can hear right now, 2 things you can smell, and 1 thing you can taste or imagine tasting. This technique activates your parasympathetic, calming nervous system and acts as an immediate reset button for the mind.
It pulls you out of the abstract internal worry and into the concrete present.
Exactly.
Okay, now for our segment on correcting the mistakes that keep B1 learners stuck and prevent them from sounding natural. I'm going to present the common error, and you give us the precise native correction.
Let's do it.
Okay, here's my common learner mistake describing my routine. I wake up at 7:00, but then I lie in bed for 20 minutes scrolling before I make coffee.
That's a classic mistake in sequence and definition. The mistake is confusing the two actions. The correct phrasing should be, I wake up at 7:00, but I don't actually get up until 7:20. Wake up is a change in consciousness. Your eyes are open, you are conscious, but you are still physically in bed. Get up is the physical movement of leaving the bed and placing your feet on the floor.
So wake up is the event of becoming conscious, and get up is the action of leaving the mattress.
Exactly. And to apply the descriptive language we learned today, you might say, I wake up at 7, but I have to drag myself out of bed at 7:20. That clearly separates the event from the often difficult action.
Got it. Okay, mistake number 2. I find shadowing useful, but I stop the audio every single time I miss a word during the practice so I can quickly translate it and make sure my pronunciation is perfect before I continue.
That action, Charlie, completely defeats the neurological purpose of the technique. The entire goal of shadowing is continuous flow and automation, not analytical translation or grammatical perfection. Stopping breaks the rhythm, and it forces your brain back into that slow, energy-draining internal translator, which we're trying to bypass entirely. The rule is non-negotiable. Don't stop. Prioritize continuous flow and rhythm over hitting every single word perfectly. You catch the mistakes later during the transcript review.
Don't stop. Okay, final mistake. When someone asks me about my chaotic Monday morning, I say, my morning is fast.
That is weak B1 language. It lacks emotional color and nuance. We need a B2 upgrade to capture that feeling accurately. Instead of fast, which just measures speed, you should use expressive vocabulary that conveys the stress and disorganization.
Like what?
Try. My morning is hectic, meaning full of stress, rushed activity, and complication. Or even better, it was a mad rush, which implies constant frantic movement trying to get things done on time.
Hectic or mad rush.
Yeah.
That immediately gives the listener insight into my emotional state and the level of difficulty.
It communicates the feeling of the morning much more powerfully, which is the key to advancing your speaking beyond the purely intermediate level. We've covered extensive ground today, from motor planning to fighting mental paralysis. It's time for a quick pop quiz to check those newly strengthened neural
I'll
pathways.
feel fortified. Bring it on.
Okay, question 1. What B2 word describes a morning that is stressful, full of rushing, and disorganized, which you should use instead of the weak word fast?
That would be hexic or a mad rush.
Correct. Question 2. What simple, spontaneous, spoken action must you commit to daily to create a production gap analysis, even if you don't have a conversation partner?
That is the daily monologue, ideally recorded on my phone.
Absolutely. The recorded 5-minute rehearsal. And question 3. What is the concept where passive knowledge, what you recognize, significantly exceeds your active speech ability, what you can produce fluently?
That is the dreaded intermediate plateau.
Excellent work. You nailed them all.
Let's summarize the top concepts we've covered today. The central idea is implementing the 20-minute power cycle, moving you from low-effort input priming to high-intensity active production. We established that shadowing is the ultimate workout for fluency automation, demanding that you prioritize flow over perfection. And finally, everything rests on consistency. A little bit of focused effort every single day is better than an overwhelming marathon session.
And we gave you powerful vocabulary that adds color to your speech. The 5 key words and phrases we want you to integrate immediately are consistency, drag yourself out of bed, freshen up, understanding the reality of connected speech, and fighting off analysis paralysis using the 5-second rule.
Your micro-challenge is this. Tomorrow morning, we want you to use the phrase set the tone, and one of the B2 vocabulary words like hectic or mad rush in a spontaneous sentence describing your start to the day. Say it out loud. For example, if I don't finish my vocab review before 7 a.m., I set the tone for a hectic, rushed morning.
Fantastic challenge. And here is our final provocative thought for you to carry forward today. The goal of fluency is not perfection, but confidence. Ask yourself, do you use your English practice as a weapon against your mistakes or as a sanctuary for your progress?
That is a deep thought to mull over. We hope this deep dive helps you turn your practice into a sanctuary.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to English Unlimited podcast.
I'm Charlie. See you next time.
And I'm Jamie. Bye.